Hi, it is May 26th. I'm Mrs. B, and my quote du jour is love the world as your own self. Then you can truly care for all things. And that was by Lao Tzu. I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right. If not, I don't mind being corrected. He was an ancient Chinese philosopher and writer. And today's story is this book I think we've had pretty much all my life. I was born in Japan as an army brat, and my parents probably bought that for my sister because it's got Chitose American Elementary School. So my dad was in the service, and for telling kids not to write in books, I always seem to draw in mine. All right, so today's story, Jack and the Beanstalk, an English folktale, pictures by Gustaf Tenggren, and it's by Simon and Schuster out of New York. Okay. Once upon a time, a boy named Jack lived with his mother in a bare little cottage. Now, Jack was good-hearted, but he cared so much more for play than he did for work that his mother was hard put to keep them both fed. One by one, she sold all their poor belongings, and at last the time came when they had nothing left but a cow. "We must sell her too, Jack," sighed his mother. "Take her to the market, but see that you get a good price, for when that is gone, I don't know how we shall live." Away went Jack, meaning to make a sharp bargain, and driving the cow before him. But as he neared the town, he fell in with a little old man who admired the cow and offered to buy her. "Oh, she's a very fine cow. What will you give me?" asked Jack. "These," said the little old man, and he held out a handful of beans, so shiny and bright colored that Jack could scarcely wait to own them. "Done!" he cried, and without a moment's thought he gave the cow to the old man and went running home with the beans. His mother did not think them wonderful at all. "Jack, Jack," she cried, "your folly has ruined us at last." Bursting into angry tears, she tossed the beans out the door, and poor Jack crept off to bed, feeling both hungry and ashamed. But in the morning, when he looked out the window, he leaped out of his bed in surprise. The beans had sprouted in the night, and from them had grown an enormous beanstalk. Up and up it went, like a great ladder, until the topmost leaves were lost in the clouds. "They were wonderful beans after all," cried Jack, and soon he was out the door and climbing up that strange beanstalk. When at last his head was above the clouds, Jack found himself in a vast barren land with nothing in sight but a great forbidding castle. Being very hungry after his long climb, he went straight to its door to ask for a bit to eat. A huge woman answered his knock and stared down at him with fear and amazement. "Whoever you are and however you came here," she cried, "you must go away before my husband comes home." Now Jack was as frightened in spite of himself, but he was hungry too. He asked for a crust of bread so earnestly that the woman took pity on him and led him to her huge kitchen. Just as she did, great pounding footsteps came toward the castle. The floor quaked, the walls trembled, and the woman's face paled. "My husband is coming," she whispered, and she hid Jack in her huge oven. This was only in the nick of time, for into the room strode a huge man, twice the size of the woman, and terrible to behold. "Fee, fi, fo, fum," he bellowed as he came. "I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread." And he looked under the table and in all the corners, and just as he reached for the door of the oven, his wife found her voice. "No one is here," she quavered. "'Tis only your good supper that you smell." She quickly set an enormous platter of plump roast geese on the table, and, grumbling to himself, the giant sat down and ate every one. Then he took 2 money bags out from under the table. Opening one, he played with the shiny coins until he fell asleep in his chair. Now out of the oven crept Jack. He drew the other bag out from underneath the giant's very nose. Holding it tightly, he was soon out the castle and safely down the beanstalk. When Jack's mother saw the giant's gold, she could scarcely contain her joy. The two lived in plenty for many months. But then the last piece was spent, and Jack went climbing the beanstalk again. This time the giant's wife scolded him roundly for running off with the gold. But her heart was being good, and her life being a lonely one, she finally let him in and brought him a huge apple tart. Jack had no more than tasted it. Then again, when again the castle began to shake like an aspen leaf. The woman paled and hid him in her wood box, and just as the lid fell shut, in strode the giant. "Fee, fi, fo, fum," he roared. "I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread." And he looked under the table and at all the corners. He peered into the oven, and he put one big hand on the lid of the wood box. "Come," cried his wife, quickly setting a platter full of whole roast pigs at his place. "'Tis only your good supper you smell." The giant soon fell to eating. When he had done, he amused himself with a small speckled hen that laid a golden egg every time he roared, "Lay!" But at length he grew even weary of this, and snored away in his chair. At his first snore, Jack hopped out of the wood box and took up the little hen. Tucking it from under his arm, he went hurrying out the castle and down the beanstalk. With a hen that laid golden eggs, Jack and his mother wanted for nothing in all the world. Still, Jack kept wishing to climb the beanstalk again, and at last one day he did. "I dare not let you in," cried the giant's wife. "Since you took his little hen, my husband has been so ill-natured that I fear for my own life." She made to close the door, but Jack slipped in at her heels and had hidden in the tea kettle when once again the giant came thundering in. And once again the monster roared and surged and ate an enormous meal. Then, setting a beautiful little harp before him, he bellowed, "Play!" And the little harp played so sweetly that both the giant and his wife were soon snoring like all the winds on earth. And Jack climbed out of the kettle, took the harp, and went running out the door. But no sooner was he well outside than the harp stopped playing and called out, "Wake, my master, wake!" Wake the giant did. Fortunately, he was still clumsy with sleep, and fortunately, Jack went running like the wind. Even so, as his feet touched the ground, the giant was halfway down the beanstalk. "Mother!" cried Jack, "bring the hatchet!" His mother came running, and with his first blow, Jack had cut the beanstalk in two. Down it came, crashing across the meadow, and down came the cruel giant, dead as a stone from that day to this. Jack's mother was so happy to have her son safely home that she cooked a fine meal almost big enough for a giant to eat. Jack did full justice to his share, and while he did, the little hen clucked merrily and the little harp played joyfully. As far as the giant's wife, safe in her huge kitchen above the clouds, there could be no doubt that she was glad to be freed from the cruel, bullying giant and his wicked fee-fi-fo-fum. And that is the story today. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care, and until next time.